All right, Dan Ives, $90, $90 from Dan Ives. So before earnings, this is 11 days before earnings on Palantir. We have officially got the Dan Ives, I guess, upgrade in which he thinks that $90 is possible. So he writes, Palantir shares are up 0.5% in extended trading after Wedbush raised its target from 75 to 90. The move reflects growing confidence in the company's AI strategy, and it should be a core winner in the trillions of AI spend over the next few years. Again, we saw Operation Stargate dedicating $500 billion to AI CapEx spend. Dan Ives says, we believe the street is underestimating the $1 billion plus in revenue stream that Palantir's AIP U.S. commercial business can evolve into over the next few years. Outperform rating, the stock soared 340% over 2024. And Dan Ives believes that the U.S. commercial business is going to be the story. Now, look, Dan Ives is right that the U.S. commercial business has always been the story. And that story has gotten better and better and better. The question now simply becomes, can that story continue to get better when it comes to the growth trajectory for Palantir going into 2025? Some more commentary right here. We believe Palantir is a path to become the next Oracle or Salesforce over the coming years. And while the valuation is expensive today, so Wedbush is acknowledging the expensiveness of the valuation, we see the messy of AI as a core winner in the trillions of AI spend over the next few years. Steve did say 150 to 250, correct? So Dan Ives is a little bit lower than him. Palantir remains one of our top names in 2025 as its game-changing AIP strategy is quickly becoming a key foundational platform for enterprises heading down the AI use case path across verticals. New and existing customers across the commercial and federal landscapes are waiting in line to sign up for multiple aspects of the Palantir tech stack as the company introduces new valuable use cases to customers, with more organizations seeking to drive efficiencies on the back of AI, with Palantir leading the charge. While the street is underestimating the $1 billion revenue stream of Palantir's AIP US commercial business that can evolve into over the next few years, and the technology competitive moat that Karp and company have built, we maintain our outperform with a $90 price target. So here's my quick thoughts on this. Look, does it deserve to get to $90? I don't know. It really depends on the growth. And I think I've been pretty clear about that over the past couple of weeks. If Palantir can guide for 35 to 40% growth, which I don't think they're going to do, I think they're going to do 30 to 32% and slowly keep raising estimates to the end of the year to get to 40%. But if they want to make a statement, Q4 quarter with Q1 2025 guidance or fiscal year 2025 guidance, I think they would guide for something like 40%. Now, granted, might not be the smartest thing to do because you want to, lower expectations. But if they really want to, put their foot down, that might be something that they do. I was having a little bit of a debate with Steve on the market close yesterday, and I think it's very, very important for everyone, even if you're not invested in Palantir, to kind of understand what's going on with these $500 billion of money that's coming into GPUs and data centers. I think it's very obvious. This whole AI CapEx build out is for a reason. We cannot have AI CapEx build out without having a use case for that AI or for that CapEx, which would be AI. But then it begs the question, what is AI, right? Like, what is AI? And I think AI, because we are, it's kind of crazy. We're all living through one of the greatest technological revolutions of all time, AI. And it's all happening right now. Like in 100 years, they're going to write history books about all of us living through what is happening right now, and all of us trying to make sense of what a large language model means or what self-driving means and how does that implicate our day-to-day lives. Because in 100 years by now, that's probably going to be just known. Just like the internet is just part of your life. Well, 30, 40 years ago, people were trying to figure out what does it mean to live with a World Wide Web. So we're all trying to figure this stuff out. And to me, AI means three things in a practical way: self-driving, robots, and then enterprise software. That's it. And enterprise software you can characterize as ChatGPT, but then you implicate, the large language model into the organization's data to then make it actionable, operational, etc. So if there's three use cases to AI, realistically, three use cases: how to train a car to drive itself, how to train a robot to do stuff, and then how to train your organization's data to act autonomously, aka AI agents, then Palantir occupies one of those big three. Palantir is not going to be the only winner in one of those big three, which is the enterprise AI space, but Palantir's in the mix of those three. You got NVIDIA building the GPUs for all this stuff. Then you got Tesla with FSD and robotics. And obviously there's other companies, Waymo and all that stuff, doing that stuff for those two verticals. But then you have the third one, which is software. And if Palantir is not growing at 40, 50%, there's an issue. And there's two subdivisions of that issue. Either it's a Palantir issue where they just can't get the customers, they can't get the demand, they can't execute, yada, yada. And that's a Palantir specific thing. Or that's an industry thing where the entire industry doesn't see the value in enterprise AI software, aka the thing that we're building all these data centers for, to train models and to have AI workloads in the cloud to then handle the compute for those models. Those models have to have a use case. And if they don't have a use case, all of this is nonsense. All of this money we're spending is going to blow up in flames and it's going to be the biggest bubble ever. Like that's just the truth. We need a use case for spending billions and billions of dollars on data centers and training all these models. And the use case has to be more than a $20 per month subscription to ChatGPT, which, by the way, they're rolling out their $200 a month subscription later today. So in my opinion, the reason why the street is giving Palantir the bump, even if the numbers don't justify it, even if the valuation's crazy, even if the price of sales is at 80, which, yes, I acknowledge that's very expensive. The street's basically like, okay, so none of this makes any sense if Palantir is not at least somewhat of a winner of this AI revolution, because then why are we building out all this CapEx? Why are we doing all this GPU training if no company, no BP, no Airbus, no government is actually going to get value from it? So in some way, I think the argument here for Palantir is that they kind of have to be a winner. Because if they're not a winner, again, it's two things. Either someone else is eating their lunch, one of the other software companies, or there's just not demand for AI software. And based on everything I'm seeing, I think there is a lot of demand for AI software. And if Palantir puts their, if they pound the table and they really make a statement and they say 35 to 40% growth, then I think the streets are really going to be like, okay, we know it's expensive, but $500 billion is about to go into AI CapEx spend. We know NVIDIA is going to get the bulk of that, but the reason NVIDIA is getting the bulk of that is because a company like Palantir will benefit from that in terms of the software sector. Therefore, we're going to buy Palantir. That's my take on Palantir. That's my take on Palantir. As Black Rose says right here, there is demand there, but there has to be an ROI. And I think over the next 5 years, Palantir is going to have to show these companies, which they've already shown to an extent at a small degree, but they're going to have to show a lot of the companies that end up signing up for AIP, even if it's through a trial, 1 month, pay as they go, whatever, that they will see an ROI. And if they start seeing an ROI, they're going to have pricing power. They're going to have the ability to sell into more customers, more governments, more clients. Everyone at Davos right now is talking about AI-fueled growth. So from that perspective, I do think a lot of the money that's being spent, everyone was saying they were upset that Trump didn't mention Palantir. It's not about Trump mentioning Palantir at that conference. It's about understanding the implication of all this CapEx spend and where does it go in terms of the actual use case of spending $500 billion. And again, to me, to make it very simple, it is self-driving, it is robotics, or it's enterprise AI. If you have another vertical, let me know, because I can't really think of the fourth or fifth thing that is like the biggest use case of AI. But if Palantir is occupying one of those three, then I think they should do very well. So there you go. $90 price target for Palantir here today from Mr. Dan Ives. Bart says at this moment, it is obvious that LLM output quality is tied to inference, the compute, and that's a load of extra tokens that are there just for thinking. To get more tokens per second, you need infrastructure. 100,000%. This is why GPT-01 or ChatGPT, the O1 model has become so good, because it's actually able to remember what you say and then think, aka do the inference training that is necessary to think and give you a response. And that's something the other models just don't have. Anthropic doesn't have it as well. Grok doesn't have it that well. This is why OpenAI is still kind of the poster child for AI, because they've just been so quick. They've really had first mover advantage to get this stuff done. But the point is, if the model is thinking, right, and like really being able to give you a substantial response, why? Why do we need a really good response? Well, if you're BP, you need a really good response, because if you're using it as a part of your workflows to like make more money and to be more efficient and increase your margins and decrease your costs when it comes to drilling for oil, then that thinking of the model that you pay XYZ millions of dollars for should be able to deliver you an ROI, which means the models have to be really good, which means we need to have more data centers to build out the GPUs to do the inference training to actually make those models better. But the use case of the models is inside of BP, inside of Airbus, inside of a government that's like making sure their data is governed in a sovereign way and protected, and making their own internal revenue service more efficient. Like there has to be an inevitable use case. And I know, people hate Dan Ives, love Dan Ives for his analysis, but the one thing that he's been spot on about is that use cases are what makes Palantir valuable. And so far, out of all the companies that are out there, we've seen the most use cases, in my opinion, come from Palantir. And so that is what he is saying justifies this $90 price target right now. Amit is about to go off when the hand gestures get along. No, because I was like, last night I was having this debate with Steve, and like, I was like, dude, they're like, because he was just like, oh, we're spending $500 billion and that's super bullish. And I'm like, yeah, but, and then he was like, being bearish Palantir. And I get it, the valuation, I understand. Like, I get the valuation is up there. But I'm like, at the end of the day, if we're trying to be a little bit more qualitative than quantitative about why the market is giving Palantir this valuation, right? Like, what is the analysis for why Palantir is trading at an 80 times price to sales, which is more than quadruple the industry standard? One of the reasons has to be that the market is perceiving all this CapEx spend as flowing down to Palantir. And I think we can't get out of that argument, because if that's not the case, then why are we spending all this CapEx? It has to be for some type of use case. And I think that use case hopefully lies in Palantir as well. Amit, could another use case be to replace teachers in school? I don't think we would ever be replacing teachers in school. I don't think that would happen, but I think we would be helping teachers. It would be an assistant to teachers to get more efficient. Maybe some parents that homeschool their kids can then, use it in a really efficient way as well. But, I still think there's going to be human touch in a lot of these things. But if teachers can become way more efficient by having AI agents help them, that just means that kids should become much smarter and we should have a much better education system. And it should be transformative. The question is going to be the timeline and the ROI on that transformation. All right, there we go. Palantir, $90. Let's move on and let's talk about everything going on inside of the Elon Trump, Sam Altman love triangle, which is becoming much crazier day by day. I mean, this thing is this thing is getting kind of crazy. So let's pull this up right here. We talked a little bit about it last night, but we do have some updates on what happened. Yes, $90 by Dan Ives. That is the price target right here for Palantir. Also, that $20 billion deal, real quick. So Palantir, Bloomberg reported, is in the running for a $22 billion contract to manufacture headsets. From my understanding, this rumor is still unproven to be true. So although it was reported yesterday from Bloomberg, I have no idea if this is actually happening. But this was the rumor last night. Palantir and Kopin, which is a $200 million company, a very small company. Their stock was up 20% yesterday off this headline, are reportedly competing for a $22 billion Army Ives headset production contract. Again, Palantir IC2, immersive control and command. I've used the product before. It's an incredible product. I don't really know if this is a real headline. It hasn't been confirmed yet. And it's definitely not going to be $22 billion. Palantir would get some of that money. They would not get literally $22 billion. Palantir doesn't make the headsets. They make the software inside of the Meta Quest or the Apple Vision Pro. But if it is a real headline and Palantir is actually competing in that vertical, the vertical being to get, VR and AR into the military, then that would be very exciting. But that one's still yet to be confirmed from anyone at the company.